All right, we're back and seeing my favorite podcast over here, the Buffalo Plus. But of course, I'm going to start out with my thoughts on what happened with the game. So let's see what I can do with that. So I had put some stuff down before the game. Come out here. So let's see exactly what I had to say out there. Oh, yeah, didn't want to see any flare passes. Actually, don't remember any from the game, but I don't think that that's a very successful play for the Bills. Didn't like it with Diggs. And you can see my nephew has helped out and started to comment a little bit with me. And with that, I just don't know. I mean, some players are good with certain passes and not, and you think, oh, Diggs top receiver, but I haven't noticed that he's actually particularly good on that flare pass. At catching it, maybe we shouldn't throw it to him because maybe one that he has a hard time catching. But don't know. I don't think the Bills do a very good job with it, no matter who's out there running with it. So I hope they either figure out how it's done or not do it now. With Diggs, I think that maybe they thought maybe he would be able to do that pass because he broke a couple longer ones after some down the field passes and made some runs out there. But I'm not sure that that's his forte either. He's really good at getting in the open and catching the ball, and not really sure that I would do that flare pass with him. And with here, I kind of said that I was really hoping to see the Bills actually take a lead and keep that lead for most of the game. And they didn't do it, and that actually kind of got me all flustered after the game with that because I really think that they should have been able to get up by two touchdowns and have to go back and forth between one and two touchdowns through the game. So that messed up my whole uh, idea of where the Bills are with that. They may just have to rely on a little bit of luck in a lot of these games uh, to get through the playoffs, and that's a kind of a shame because I really thought that they do have a team that they could really be a dominant team. So kind of messed me up a little bit that they weren't able to do that with this game. And I don't really know what I expect now for New England. So hopefully they'll get through that game, and hopefully Miami loses to Baltimore and have a little more optimism. That I will do say that I still believe this, that they should save Cook for the playoffs. And actually, I just don't. I don't see him as a primary back. With that, I really think that at the beginning of the game, he should be in mostly for passes, couple runs maybe, but the pound ball, people should be one of the other three or two of the other three that they have over there. Whether it's Murray, I like Murray, definitely like Ty Johnson and Fournette can do it as well. If the Bills are going to be like in this game here where there's going to be contact 2 yards after the play, then you want one of those guys carrying the ball. You don't really want Cook carrying the ball. With that, save Cook for later in the game where he's got his fast legs and he can get by people that are a little tired. There, I mean, he's faster than most people out there anyway. But if they've been playing a whole game and he hasn't been playing, then he'll be super fast and get a lot more yards toward the end of the game. So that's just the way that I think that they should be using him. And with those passes, it's really good. If he's taking contact 2 yards after the line of scrimmage, he's going to have a lot more fumbles and that kind of stuff. Save him to when he's faster than everybody else out there. So much faster, so much quicker that he's going to get those 7, 10 yards and then maybe break a 25-yarder. And again, it's like I said, that Diggs may not be able to catch some of those passes. Josh is just better at those 15 to 35-yard on the line passes than he is with lobbing the ball out there on the streaks, which is a shame because you get a couple of those long balls out there, and that'll free up these 15 to 35 yarders even more. But uh, maybe they can work on that. Who knows? And just I think we miss Hines in the kickoff return game. There, Douglas almost had that interception. It's kind of a shame he didn't get it. Then he had a nice sack, so that's good. Uh, and here's again with Diggs. He was wide open. I know he was running the other direction than what he was, but I think if Josh lobs that ball instead of throws it on line, I think he's makes that catch. I actually don't think it was that underthrown. That I think it would have been right in his breadbasket if the defender wasn't there. But if Josh lobs that ball, it's over his head, and the defender can't make the play. So I just think that's a function of Josh lobbing the ball and throwing the ball on the line like that. And then the one thing that I did like about that play, though, is Diggs actually does try to be a defender on some of those passes, and he has been successful on it. But I like the fact that he's actually turning into that defender and trying to make that uh, knockdown. And I think that it'll be important that he uh, keeps that up through the rest of the playoffs and stuff, because I think he's actually going to end up being that defender and making that play and knocking that interception away one of these times. He's done it on a lot of these where he's tried to. You can see he's tried. He just hasn't been successful, but I think he will end up being successful and will be important times. Uh, I don't know why, if you're going to be up by 7 anyway, that you would kick the field goal and go up by 8. I like going up by 9. I just think that's a smart play, but and the coaches seem to think that is. Personally, I don't think a lot of the coaches are going to go for 2, so they'll just kick that field goal. So being up by 8 or up by 7 really doesn't do you much difference. Uh, so I would go up by 9 or make him score twice. And that was the Mitch Morse one. I really think that wasn't really holding so much on that call. And that's one of the things about running, right? Everybody's. I like the running game. I love to see the running game and stuff like that, but you end up getting too many of these doggone picky holding calls. And actually, I think that was on, picky holding calls when you do it and like that. But that's another thing that I've talked about previously is I don't think that coaches should be teaching them to grab like that in the first place. So I don't. I wish that they'd stop that. Either call them all, because you see somebody in the junk called, so that will be a call all. But whatever. And again, they making themselves rely on luck. That here the announcers say run the ball with Cook, guys say no, and actually it happened that he passed it. He ended up fumbling after that, and you can see that fumble was what I had predicted anyway, where the guy reached in and actually grabbed it out. I just think if Cook is putting, I mean, Cook isn't a put his head down anyway. He never goes in. He never can't bowl through anybody anyway. He's got to go around them. So I just think he's going to be susceptible to being in that crowd and people pulling the ball out. So save him when he's fresh, when you can just get around everybody, and when somebody touches him, goes down. Just the way it's just the way to play him. The other thing about all this too is, I think he needs to be fresh because he needs to be faster and quicker than everybody else with that. But the coaches also ought to know how they're offensive linemen are doing. We don't know whether they're hurting or not hurting, and that'll make a big difference of how well they can block and stuff too. So we don't have all that insight in there, but the coaches ought to know, and that'll depend a lot how good the rush game goes too. And I definitely like the way the Chargers set up that play. That's one I thought that other teams should be good, and we're lucky that that runner didn't know how to run behind his blockers because he had it all set up there. They had like five blockers out there for two defenders. If that guy would have known how to use his blockers, they'd have scored on that. So, first of all, the Bills should be setting up a play just like that. And there's one time we got lucky, so that's great. And with that, let's go see what the Buffalo Plus people have to say.
Podcast presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. We are in the Buffalo Plus podcast studio breaking down this Bills win over the Chargers. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, gentlemen, deep breath. The Bills, they won 24-22. But
never a doubt.
Mike, survive in advance. First of all, survive in advance. The Bills just need to keep winning. But that was so stressful.
Incredibly stressful. Way more stressful than it needed to be. I say this. I use this phrase all the time. I don't know if you know, but I repeat things sometimes. They've heard it.
Or you just say
hindsight win. And I mean, put it in the rearview mirror. Like, they got to learn some stuff from it, but you're never watching that game again. This is not an instant classic. You barely want to see the highlights again. They won in the standings. It looks.
So, actually, I hope they're doing a good film study on this, right? Because this, couldn't they run the ball like they did last week? Right? So, definitely hope the Bills are doing the film study on this. And actually, I wish I had the background to do some film study because I would like to know more. I mean, I understand that Dallas did that nickel and that made it easy, but they had a couple games here where they've run one half and then weren't able to run the other half. I wish I could remember which game it was, or it was Dallas or the Eagles, but they were just running like crazy, and then they couldn't run again. I don't know if the defense made the adjustment there or if the Bills just stopped trying as hard. But definitely hope that they're learning from this game.
It's fantastic. Beyond that, outside of a few really good individual efforts by teams or by players, man, you just want to say they won. The best part about this win is that it puts them in the playoffs right now, and they got a lot still to work on.
This is what scared me about this game. When we were up there on Tuesday, this was a team that was riding high after a big win. We will not. I promise. I promise. Let me look at the camera. Which one do I got? Here we go. I promise. We will not talk about trap game versus letdown game. Whatever it was, this was a Bills team.
Let's just refer to it as Charger games.
Like, whatever this was a team, and I tweeted about it, I think, midway through the second quarter. This was a team coming off an emotional win, having to travel out west on a short week. And let's be honest, too, the Bills dominated the ball so much in that Dallas game. I think it also takes a toll on you physically because they had the ball and they controlled time of possession. And you have a Chargers team that got embarrassed on national, in the entire NFL. They were the laughingstock of the league. They got their coach fired, and they came out and played fired up. I think that's what we saw. And it's, Jenny, you talked about it. I've been saying it's the NCAA tournament. Yeah. It is just survive in advance. The 16 seed can scare you, but if the 1 seed moves on to the Final Four, that's all that matters.
They won. That's all that matters. End of the day, you talk about it. And you mentioned some of the performances that we saw.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Josh Allen throw to Khalil Shakir.
It's third down.
Yeah.
They came with pressure.
Yep.
He is running. He's on his back foot.
He's on no feet when he throws the ball.
And he gets it to Shakir. I mean, it's one thing, to make plays at different times. That is the play of the game.
Play of the game.
No question. And I know Shakir was open, but I'm talking about there's very few people that have ever played this game that can make that throw. Very few.
Agreed.
It's a handful of guys.
Josh Allen was made in the lab.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean,
it's
you've
just
got
unbelievable.
a John Elway type with an arm, or maybe Mahomes because he makes some plays. Maybe a few of these guys.
Yeah.
It's so limited. And to do that, he got the ball there. It ends up being a good thing.
Great thing.
That Shakir was down because they ended up being able to use the clock. But for your quarterback to make that play, this was not some spectacular Josh Allen game.
No.
But he had big moments, and that.
I think I'd rather have the touchdown. I mean, it turned out all right, but I think I'd rather have the touchdown.
One was as big as it was as big as any play for the entire game.
It's not just converting in that spot. It's also being under pressure, being under all of those things. That's the play of the game.
Yeah.
He made, and like I said, I thought early on, we all talked about it, was just off.
Yeah.
He missed a couple throws short. He skipped one to Diggs short. He missed one to Diggs on that final drive that we all kind of said, like, what was that?
Yeah.
Like, but when push comes to shove, and to make that play, I think that's what impresses me the most. We talk about the arm strength of being able to do it. It's also the little bit of that. We talk about the Josh Allen as a carnival ride operated by drunk carny. To have the stones, and I know Shakir's open, but still to have the balls to make that throw and to get it there,
Yeah.
I think is why you never want to turn Josh Allen into anything but Josh Allen. Just let him be. That's the epitome of it.
I think for me watching this game, he did seem unsettled early on. And I don't know if it was the travel and the emotional week and, the fact that it was another game, another must win for this team, the pressure on, and obviously they got off to a slower start in this one. But to see the way, I mean, we're all watching the game together, which is an experience we don't normally have. But when we're all watching the game, you're like, the Bills need a play here. And to see Josh Allen be able to step up in that moment. And I feel like you never want to take it for granted. But in that, going into that, I was like, it's Allen. He's going to figure it out. And not many teams, NFL teams, have a quarterback like that you say, hey, I know that Allen usually is going to be able to step up in that huge moment and make a big play. And credit to him in terms of the throw, and then Khalil Shakir as well. I mean, he was wide open as well, but the game was hinging on that play, and for the Bills to be able to pull it off, again, not pretty at all.
No.
But it didn't matter.
No, it didn't matter. And like we said, it's not just the play itself, which is Allen falling back, throwing the ball. But if you just looked at it without any context, you'd say, wow, that's an athletic play. It's third down on the drive to win the game. You have to make that play.
It's not only that, I looked at it, by the time he let the ball go, he was on like the 41-yard line. Like, say he gets sacked.
Yeah.
You can't turn the ball over in that spot, but say you turtle, which is like, hey, Josh, like, don't try and make something out of nothing. And then say he takes sack. Now you're almost out of field goal range. So, like, I know an incompletion would have put the ball back, to the 26 or whatever it was, because it was 3rd and 4. But it's a 28-yard throw that he made while he's in midair.
Yeah.
It's like a Derek Jeter throw in the hole. Like to backhand the ball and to make that throw. Again, it's only 28 yards, but to have 3 Charger defenders in your face, to be running backwards, it's just an absurd play. And again, I think that's the only thing I want to take away from this game, because for a lot of it, it was just weird. The turnovers we'll get to, the defense, all these things.
Yikes. Yeah. Ew.
It's a Derek Jeter throw if 3 guys were also in his face while he was trying to throw it.
McDermott
Yeah.
and clock management. And this is something I feel like we haven't really talked about in terms of a positive sense. But I thought at the end of the game, McDermott did a good job with about 5 minutes left, dictating the clock, setting what the Bills will do. And I thought it went well for the team.
Deion Dawkins referred to him as Dad last week.
I love that.
Dad's learned a little bit. Dads can learn.
Yeah.
Dads can learn and improve. You would have liked to have all this happened in Kansas City a few years ago, but there were circumstances in this one.
Yeah.
I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, and somebody will, I thought point to point what they did from that moment on, the way they handled the clock, what they did on the kickoff, everything was done the way you would to minimize the risk, move the clock, force them in a position where you're 30 seconds left when you're kicking off. Then they kick off to the 15, high in the air. Now, did take it to the 30, and that may be a little more dangerous if the team needs a field goal and it's Patrick Mahomes.
Squibbed it and ran 4 seconds off.
That Easton stick, but they did that. and then Ed made the play, and then it was basically over.
Good for Ed.
Yeah.
I remember when the Bills signed that, when he had that contract this past
balling out.
offseason,
Yeah.
I was like, it's a lot of money. I don't know. And Ed has
Oh,
proved
yeah.
me and a lot of other people very
He's been
wrong.
better this year than he's been. But back to the clock. You were looking at, did you have any issue with anything he was doing?
No, that's why I said, he squibbed it. We were.
So they talk about how much money that he gets, but he got $1 million for playing good this year. So I mean, that's kind of an incentive all itself. So
Sitting there talking about once the Khalil Shakir play got overturned, we were all like, this is actually better for the Bills,
Right?
Because they're going to be able to milk more time off the
Oh,
clock.
yeah.
And I also respected the fact that they kicked the field goal, because you're going, they're going to have like 40 seconds left. And again, Dicker is a great kicker.
Yeah.
Like he was obviously the best player offensively for the Chargers today. But the fact of being able to milk the clock down to about 31 seconds, field goal goes through, and then to kick off and to squib it took 4 more seconds off the clock.
Yeah.
Like you can't do much more. And the final play, we will get to Collinsworth in a little bit. I thought the Bills' coverage on that play was phenomenal. I thought McDermott, I know people have been upset at times when McDermott calls those timeouts and they're like, what are they doing? He wants to talk to his guys. And all he was telling them was, you can't flag. Like, you can't hold somebody. Like, you cannot draw
Can't get
a penalty.
He's telling them that, and he's also saying, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
It's like a kickoff.
It really is.
And, people know home run throwback. The issue there was everybody pursued on one side. They maintained. We're going to spend a little bit of time ripping Collinsworth because he deserves it from this game. But even in that, I mean, I get it. You got an audience you're trying to say. He's talking about everybody being on one side. The Bills had defenders all over the field.
Yeah, it's just
and when he was talking about it, they were still 80 yards from the end zone. They would have had to been an incredible, fortunate play for that to ever happen. I thought you did it. I thought the timeout was the smart play.
obviously, I disagree with them. I think that the Chargers didn't get that because that guy didn't run very well. Right? He stays behind his line. It would have been tough.
And got everybody ready, even though they were that close to having it just end before that play.
Yeah, the 1
Pick
second.
there, but there was 1 second left.
But again, the defense wasn't perfect. I just had the feeling that a team off an embarrassing loss like the Chargers did would have some kind of bounce back
juice.
And they did. The opening drive, they go 90 yards, and you're kind of sitting there, only allowed a field goal, but you're kind of sitting there going like, the hell, it's Easton stick.
I've never seen a Gift Smith team not play hard.
That's it. But I
no,
thought,
he did. His team played hard.
But I thought
did.
after, look, another terrible James Cook fumble. We'll get to that. But to hold them to a field goal and to then kind of reset and to have Josh in that offense go on a drive like they did, eat up about 4 minutes of clock.
Yep.
Phenomenal. I thought that was a big testament to Joe Brady and to Josh Allen. Again, we talked about the play, but I thought everything after the James Cook fumble was handled phenomenally by the coaches and executed to about as well as you could, which has been the knock as they have failed to execute at times. They won another one-score game, and they got out of LA with the win, and that's all that matters.
And you made a good point because Dicker made that field goal. I feel like that guy could hit one from 70.
Yeah.
I mean,
really
he is
good.
very good. And in that sort of controlled environment, you really had to had to keep them. If they got to the 45.
Yeah, 45. They're
For
going
the
to
Bills, he's kicking it. And what were you thinking was happening?
Yeah.
The guy is a tremendous kicker. So he survived.
Survive and advance.
Yep.
You mentioned the James Cook fumbles. That to me is something that we saw the great game against the Cowboys last week. People talking about him being, an emerging star. And I think he can be that for the Bills. But the fact that he had the fumbles are just so detrimental to what you were trying to do. The Bills -3 in the turnovers in terms of today. That is very hard formula to win games. The Bills finding a way to do it, but it's brutal.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit, we were talking about as we're watching the game. Also, had Thai food for the first time. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Thai food.
We had a little Thai food and watched the game together. Yeah.
Red curry.
I'm a Thai food fan.
Pad see you.
Yeah, I'm a Thai food
But
fan.
I thought, we sat there and I said, like, hey, all this, like, James Cook is like the next star running back. I thought was a little bit preemptive after one game. And we thought of him,
He's had a lot
we
of
kind of
good
talked about it
games.
as, okay, he's an emerging running back. like, oh, he's making the step. But a lot of people are like, yeah, he's second in the league in rushing. I get all that, but I still don't think he's the guy you still base your game plan around. I think he's a guy that all of a sudden you have to obviously pay attention to, but I still don't think this team is a full-on ground and pound. James Cook is the guy.
I think we all
isn't
get
pounding
wrapped up in the moment. We can all be
Never.
prisoners of
Never.
the moment.
I'm never.
Some might say, never, Daniel.
Never.
But I get when we saw that, especially since we haven't seen the Bills win that way against another team in terms of the Cowboys, like them being able to run things out, James Cook having such a great game, career game for him. And then this week you see, like, okay, it's still Josh Allen. It's not like any of that is changing, but I see what you're saying, because a lot of people had the expectation of, okay, how can he build off of this? And it's like, I think he can, but at the same moment, like, people know in the league that he can fumble.
Well, and again, I don't want to sit here and say that James Cook had a bad game today. Like, yeah, the fumble hurt, but he still ran the ball for 70 yards. Like, I think you'll take that every day of the week. I'm just not sitting here expecting him to be Christian McCaffrey-esque and all of a sudden become the go-to guy when the Bills need to play. That's not where I have him.
Well,
So,
it's Josh Allen. Did anyone say that?
I think he can be the go-to guy when they need to play. The thing is, I don't think he can be the pound guy. Right? You're not going to send him to get 4 yards when you have to have 4 yards. Like there, that's one of the other backs, right? If the offensive line blows him off 2 yards, he's not going to go through anybody and get 2 yards. That'll have to be Ty Johnson or Murray or Fournette, right? That's not Cook. He's faster than everybody else. Give him a little hole, and then he can get through the hole.
it seemed like it was a lot of the Bills have found their go-to running back that they can go to all the time. And
well, they did go to him a substantial amount of times in this game. Now, a couple of things. Number one, McDermott kept him out there.
He did.
And, he fumbled on his first snap in that stadium.
Correct. So maybe it's just that stadium kind of thing.
He's fumbled other times. Fumbled in Orchard Park. But he fumbled, and the other one got recovered, and then he gave that one away. And you started to ask me about it, and I'm going to bring it up again. I say this because Fred Jackson would tell us that, man, you don't want to be the guy. They'll go in the visiting locker room, and they got your number on there. And this guy will give up the ball. And they will. James Cook is that guy now. And you saw the way the Chargers played him. Like, they are going for the football. Sure, they do that with a lot of guys. They know the guys that'll put it on the carpet. And he's becoming that guy. You don't have to do it 20 times. You just do it. They're all watching. Like they were saying, like, any guy playing a game is sitting in a hotel. They're all watching the game. Like, what are they doing? They're watching the game, and they're thinking, New England's going to do it next week. Yeah. Miami's going to do it the last week. And whoever they play in the playoffs is going to do it. So he's got to be better with that. And by the way, before we rip Collinsworth, they got the halftime show or whatever that, in there with, Sims and
go off, Queen.
Yeah. Okay. Jason Garrett, I feel sorry for you Cowboys fans. You had that clown as your head coach. He's standing there going, where's James Cook? At that moment, Josh Allen had thrown 16 passes and James Cook had run the ball 14 times.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't have the ball very much in this game. Limited amount of times. And then right away, and right after that, because
he fumbles it.
Jason Garrett wants you to do it.
Coach.
That's why he fumbled.
Hey,
call me coach.
It's coach.
Yeah, I call you
How
coach.
dare you?
God, I wish he was still coaching the Cowboys. Clown. Anyhow, I just had to put. I'm looking at that.
He goes, anyhow.
I mean, seriously, I could rip that whole broadcast. You got Collinsworth on there and his kid, like, right? I mean, it's just they're just all over the place. He was on the game before.
Collinsworth.
All right, so in this game, I actually was out shopping with the wife.